Hi everyone, it's Onique here, and I'm here giving you a bit of an update back after much popular demand about where I'm at 6 months of taking Agomelatine/Valdoxan on my journey, where I'm at, how I'm feeling, and how I'm going. First of all, I must say, I never thought I would get such a strong response on YouTube and TikTok for all my videos that I made about this topic, so thank you very much, and I hope these videos have actually been quite helpful for you. So recap time, just to recap for those who might not be up to speed, but I do encourage you to watch the previous video because there's a lot of detail in there I won't go into again in this video, so please watch that if you're interested. Agomelatine/Valdoxan is an atypical antidepressant, so it's not an SSRI or SNRI like your Lexapro, your Zoloft, your Prestique. So if you want to get a bit more technical with Agomelatine/Valdoxan, it is a norepinephrine and dopamine disinhibitor. So I was having issues around a generalized anxiety disorder, and for context, it would be things like even going to the grocery store to get some bits and pieces, seeing friends, any sort of social event, working, anything would kind of really overwhelm me to the point where I'd be exhausted and I would come home, not be able to do anything. And it was really hard to have a basic control of your life. And then you also feel a sense of shame about it as well because you feel like you can't control it. And then also you're tired, so you don't want to do anything, but also you realize even leaving the house is a huge event and all this other kind of stuff. If you want to know a bit more about this, definitely watch my previous video. There was a lot of detail in there about starting, how to access medicine, the blood tests and everything. So all that stuff I won't be addressing here because now this is the update video. So yeah, definitely check the old one out if you want some more detail. So the update. So update since my last video. I'm happy to announce that it has been 6 months since the beginning of my first tablet of Agomelatine. And very happy to say also that I have completed my course of treatment, meaning I finished taking the medicine now. So yes, I guess the first thing I wanted to touch on was the side effects. So if you've watched my previous videos on my TikTokies, you will know that I was whinging about sleep problems. And by that I mean what would happen is I could fall asleep because the medicine does definitely induce drowsiness and sleepiness at an appropriate time, which is nighttime when you take it. However, I wasn't able to stay asleep the whole night and have a really good sleep. So I would be waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning wide awake. Now, thankfully, that issue resolved by itself over time, but I also think it was coupled with me taking the tablet as my head was hitting the pillow rather than taking the tablet 1 to 2 hours before bed. So that's something to keep in mind. That said, I did join an Agomelatine/Valdoxan support group on Facebook. Very interesting, I must say. And there were other people on there who reported having great sleep. So I guess it really depends. However, I was able to find a lot of people who also had the exact same issue I said about waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. wide awake and almost described that problem back to me verbatim. So definitely it's something to keep in mind if you are a light sleeper or that's going to be a huge issue for you. The doctor did initially recommend for me to take melatonin tablets coupled with my Agomelatine/Valdoxan, but I didn't really find it super helpful, but it could be helpful for you. Yeah, in terms of other side effects, still nothing else really to report. Nothing else like dry mouth or nausea or sexual dysfunction or sweating or anything else really, no headaches. So that was great. Everything just chugged along as normal, really easy to contain and manage. I will say though, one thing I do recall and remember only now that I have finished the medicine is that I was quite tired frequently. And by that, I mean, maybe in the middle of the day, a bit of a lie down was very good. Now, one thing a lot of people worry about when taking antidepressant medication is any side effect profile that includes increased appetite or weight gain. Naturally, that's very understandable. I found with Agomelatine, there were no changes whatsoever to my weight or eating habits really at all. However, I must say, and I cannot stress this enough, it's probably a good idea to revise your diet and your exercise regime, maybe even up the amount of walks you do or exercises you try and get done during the week, just to sort of help with everything more generally. So the next things are neither good or bad, but I thought I would just flag them anyway. I would find myself often reflecting about other times, possibly in my mind, fonder memories of more simple times. I guess you could call that nostalgia. I don't know why this happened. It was pretty frequent, like maybe a few times a day I would just reflect on where I used to live or the friends I used to hang out with or nice times. So it was all good things, I guess. But I don't really know if that helps or not, but it was nice to reflect, I guess. So also, I never had any dreams. And I was counseled before taking this medicine that one side effect could be some kind of strange and weird dreams. And there are plenty of people in the Agomelatine support groups and in my comments and stuff that do say about or talk about having weird, whacked dreams. But I didn't have any. So that was a bit strange. I was kind of disappointed because I was keen to see what these whack dreams were all about, because it's so hard to understand what other people experience in a dream. And now I'm off the medicine. I dream pretty frequently. I've had 4 dreams the past 4 nights, all about airplanes and traveling. So I firstly just want to point out that I didn't do this with any medical advice. It was just something I was rolling with. So I don't really recommend that for other people, but I was confident with my skill set for this. So yes, around 5 months during my Agomelatine journey, I decided to stop taking 2 tablets and just take 1 tablet a night instead. And just see how I would go, like just monitor myself, if I needed to keep on 2, I could easily do that. It wasn't an issue. And I actually felt fine on 1. Like I didn't really notice any difference whatsoever. So I just kept going with that for probably about 2 weeks and just monitored it. After those 2 weeks and monitoring myself, it took me quite a lot of time to summon up the courage to just not take any. So yeah, but what actually happened was I just forgot, to be honest. There was one night I was in bed, really tired, ready for bed, and then I just realized I had forgotten to take it, and I was just like, ugh, Siebes, let's see how this goes, right? It was a little bit harder to fall asleep for sure, but I think that was just me talking to myself, and also you've kind of broken a bit of a ritual, doing something every night routinely, and then to not do it and be consciously aware that you haven't done it, you're like, oh, kind of thing. And after that, I just didn't take any more, but I just made sure I kept monitoring myself, just making sure everything was fine, because I had medicine in the fridge. If I really needed to keep taking it, I could do so. So I felt very comfortable with that situation and that setup. So that was fine. The only main adjustment I was banging on about before I felt was falling asleep was a little bit more difficult, I would say. I think, like I said, it's probably just a mixture of just having broken a ritual/routine, but also maybe your body just adjusting to the chemistry at that time of the night and just getting consciously and unconsciously used to it. How do I feel now? Yes, to be honest, I feel great. So I feel much better than before I started to take the medicine, and I feel much better than during the course of treatment taking the medicine. I think some of this could be a little bit circumstantial too. But it is nice to be having more energy and not find life as exhausting. But with circumstances, everyone's got different things going on. I can attest and say for myself that work has been a lot more smooth. I've got a lot more creative projects and feel a bit more zesty in that way. I've been able to save up a bit of money. I've gone on a really nice holiday recently. So I think those things also really help. But if you think about it, if I wasn't able to bring myself to a better point, i.e. with medicine, then maybe I wouldn't have had those extra perks to keep pushing me up. But yes, even now, it's great to not be having a meltdown when going to the grocery store or seeing friends or going out and about and doing life things. That's really good. It's very encouraging. It makes you more willing to go out and do things and try new things. And that's great. That's really where I wanted to get to. That in itself, not having meltdowns in the grocery store, for example, gives me much more clarity of mind and just kind of makes me feel better about life overall, because I feel less scared of the world. Because if something as simple as going to the shop was overwhelming, try performing on stage or something like that, right? So what's next? Well, I do think Agomelatine/Valdoxan has supported me during my times of crisis, but I want to stress the importance of other things, like I mentioned before, that can build your resistance and your brain health, like consistent physical activity, social events that you can handle and that you like to do, or other things like personal challenges and goal setting and achieving things, but also seeking help in other ways. Like, for example, I joined those Facebook groups, I got some counseling and tried to build up my circle, I guess. I know that in itself can sound really overwhelming when something for you like leaving the house is a huge event, but slowly, I noticed with slowly starting to introduce some of these things, it's definitely helped me build a more holistic reserve within myself that I can draw upon later. So I'm extremely mindful now of relapse. So because I have had a relapse, there is a very strong chance I will probably have one again in the future. And that in itself is a bit sad, but I've accepted the idea that it could happen, and I'm even starting to plan ahead. I feel like something like that could happen to me around Christmas time again, especially coupled with things like a break in routine with, Christmas shutdown. That tends to happen a lot. But I feel like I am much better equipped to deal with that situation now, and I have the tools and the experience of Agomelatine as such to build more support for myself when going through that time if I have it again. And if I had to take Agomelatine again in the future, I have no issues with it. I know exactly what to expect. I know that it has helped me. I know what the outcomes could be. So that's really helpful. But yeah, I think I just want people to know that it might be something you have to deal with for a long time. Not something that just comes and goes. If you are the type of person where it comes and goes, that's great, but that's not everyone. My final thoughts, here we go. So now that I'm finished with everything, I've got a nice clear head to be telling you about this. I feel like out of the 4 antidepressants I have been taking and using over the course of this time, I feel like this one has definitely worked the best for me, simply because the side effect profile was very tolerable, and by that it means you don't have as many side effects that mess with your life. So that's great. And I feel like it was just enough to push me to a point where I could, sign myself up for counseling, feel more confident leaving the house, and have a bit more exposure to the world. So that's worked well for me. Now, I must say, not everyone's experience is going to be the same. And if you read anything about any antidepressant you can think of, you'll see a wide range of experiences. And that's simply to do with just the variety of brains we all have and the lives we live and the myriad of differences between each person. But it is the pursuit and choosing to try and get better that should be the focus of all of our journeys. So that's all for now. So thank you so much for watching. And yes, like I said, watch the other YouTube video and my TikTok. There are some interesting responses on my Agomelatine/Valdoxan videos there for you to look at. And yeah, definitely join the Valdoxan/Agomelatine support group on Facebook. Definitely you can put your questions in there. People respond. Some responses are good, others are questionable. And yeah, thanks for all your comments as well. I've tried to respond to as many as I can. And but it's a lot to do, and I try my best, but I am not a doctor yet. So take care. Bye.